got to deal with as black men in order to fix our predicament, and I'm going to say it, is the black bourgeoisie of Miami. You will not get out of this condition if you are too damn afraid to call a kettle black when it's black and white when it's white. I'm from North Philadelphia. I'm not from Miami. But I know white supremacy inside and out. And I know that the reason why a lot of you in the condition you in is because of certain black people were put in certain places to control your progress. There's 5 families of the black bourgeoisie. Every city we live, no matter how big, how small. I'm going to tell you what they are. In Miami, you have a black academic bourgeois. These are the blacks who work for your community colleges. They work for your universities. They work at some of your high schools. And you know what their job is? To make it look like white supremacy ain't your problem. Your problem is you. When you say, why my son not learning? Why he in special ed? They don't say because white supremacy. They say because y'all poor. Because he listens to rap. Because his mother dropped out of high school. That ain't got a damn thing to do with why our boys ain't learning. They're not learning because 93% of America's white teachers are middle-class white women who could give a damn if a black boy learned anything. So you got your academic bourgeois. Who's your next bourgeois in Miami? This is the status bourgeois. These are black people in your city with fancy-ass titles. I'm the chief of police, captain of the fire department. I'm a ward leader, block captain, city council person, alderman, vice president of this. I'm the founder of this. I'm the associate secretary of this. They got nice business cards and nice parking spots where they park at. Nobody can park there but me. But what the hell do they do for the everyday black man and woman? Most of them got not-for-profit 501c3 corporations that they pimping. They get a grant for $80,000, $60,000 go in their pocket. And the IRS or nobody say anything about it. You know why? Because they have your faith. And as long as they have your faith, they keep you sleeping. So even though the IRS know they robbing you blind through that nonprofit corporation, they're going to let them get away with it because they keeping the dead dead. So we talked about the academic bourgeois. We talked about the status bourgeois. Then you got the economic bourgeois. These are some black folks in Miami and South Florida who got some money. They might not be a mega millionaire, but they a multi-millionaire. They got enough money where they could build a family center for our community. They got enough money where they could fund the after-school program. They got enough money where they could put some black kids to work, but they choose not to do that. But when the Boys and Girls Club of America need a check, they get it. NAACP Urban League need a check, they get it. When the tsunami hit Southeast Asia, they send a check over to the Asians. But when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, they ain't have no damn money for the blacks. That's your economic bourgeois. 2 more groups. One of them is blacks in the Miami media. They got radio programs. They got TV programs. They got magazines. They got newspapers. They got cable networks. They got websites. Hundreds of thousands of our people listen to them every day. But the problem is what, brothers? They don't talk about nothing except nothing. So rather than talk about how black men are going to organize in South Florida for economic empowerment, they want to talk about Jay-Z and Beyonce's new baby. Instead of talking about the graduation rate and what we need to do about the schools down here in Dade County, we're going to talk about the upcoming Source Awards. And the 5th family is the most dangerous of the bourgeois. And then I want to hit to some slides. What is the 5th family? Religion. Some pastors, some imams, some religious leaders. I never want to say all because normally once in a while there's an exception. But instead of organizing the church to fight police brutality, instead of organizing the church to improve the educational system, instead of organizing the church to hold your elected officials accountable, they use the church as a form of Novocaine, where they put Black Miami to sleep every Sunday for 3 to 8 hours. All week, you revving up for revolution. All week, I can't wait till I get to church and ask my pastor if we can start a training program for the black boys. Until you get in there, and he sprays some Novocaine. And then the choir come out and do a little jig. And by the time the service is over, your ass back to sleep. The biggest contradiction of the black church, and I'm not talking Christianity only, all of them, if it's Muhammad, Christ, people under the moon, whatever the hell they believe in. Because you got brothers spooked out and that. I don't deal in spooky stuff. Well, brother Umar, did you hear his Martians living under the earth? I don't give a damn about that. Or are they going to come help me fight white supremacy? You know, those people with one eye flying in the sky. What the hell they got to do with my existence? The church is escapism sometimes. Do you know what escapism is? Any idea, any theory that anybody gives you to make you think you have to fix your own situation. Ain't no Christ coming to do it. Ain't no Muhammad, no Martians, no aliens, none of that. You got to do this work. But do you know why black people love Martians on the moon and the planet Neptune and Captain Kirk? You know why? Because you want an excuse not to do what you know you're supposed to do. That's why church is so popular. I'm not going to blame the pastor. It's because you love it when somebody tells you to fix your problems. All you got to do. To fix your problems, all you got to do is pray and give me some money. But let's follow this to the end. Let's follow this to the end. So all of us go to the same church, hypothetically. We all put in a certain amount of money every Sunday, hypothetically. The pastor takes your money and takes it to a certain bank in Miami that's not black. It's white. So he's depositing about $50,000 in a white bank every Sunday. Stay with me. That money does not go up to God. It goes to a white bank. And let me tell you what the white bank does with your Jesus money. They take your Jesus money and put it all together, and then some white man comes in from the outside and says, I want to go clean up. I want to transform. I want to gentrify. I want to do some ethnic cleansing in Miami. And then you find out that your church is the #1 donor contributor to the bank, which means your Jesus money is doing the devil's work. Do you know how many of our grandmothers are homeless now because their Jesus money was given to a white developer used to move her out of the house she paid for 30 years ago? My biggest issue with the church ain't the church, it's the people who lead it. And my issue with them is how in the hell can you talk about heaven but teach the people to be comfortable living in hell? My issue with the church is how you tell us that heaven comes after you die. Any religion, I don't give a damn what it is, that tell me I can't have it here and now with my own 2 hands ain't a religion I need, because that's a damn slave time religion. You don't get me ready for happiness later. I want mine now. The white man got his heaven now. The Chinese man got his heaven now. The Indian, the Arab, they got it now, but I got to wait until I die. We need a black liberation theology that speaks to us. And we have to stop being afraid to be black. Too many of us are crouching. When people say, well, what do you think? Black people think, well, I can only speak for myself. People say, well, what do you think about the black condition? Well, we're just too, we also have a lot of variety amongst ourselves. There's no one black position, there's millions. Well, what do you think about, well, I'm just an American. I don't really know what black is. My grandma was born here. I'm not from Africa. I've never even been there. Scared to be what God made you, but want to be what everybody else is. And wonder why you can't get respect. Chinese man is in America, but he's a Chinese man in America. The Jew is in America, but he's a Jew in America. The Arab is in America, but he's an Arab first. Don't you dare get it confused. But you want to be an American. What the hell is that?
All right, y'all. Once again, it's your boy Chauncey, a.k.a. you Karima, GMOG Media. I'm here live and direct in Miami, here with a very special guest. As you can see with all the credentials you have behind him, psychologist, Pan-Africanist, political scientist, etc., Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and love, family. Dr. Umar Johnson, Prince of Pan-Africanism, live with my good brother Chauncey here in Miami, Florida.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So can you briefly explain exactly the lecture that you just completed today and also the events that you have coming up?
Yes, indeed. Tonight, I did a very special presentation, only my second time, entitled For Brothers Only, Balancing Relationships and Revolution. I don't get an opportunity to address all black male audiences that much, so tonight was an opportunity for me to do it for only the second time. I did it earlier this year in Fort Worth, Texas at the Dock Bookstore, but that was the only other time I got an opportunity to address the brothers. And so tonight we dealt with relationships, love, economic empowerment, mass incarceration, dealing with our women, the need for community defense, character improvement, and as well as being the role models that our young men need. So that was tonight's program. Tomorrow, we will be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the Old Dillard High School Museum, 1009 Northwest 4th Street from 12 until 3. And tomorrow, I will be dealing with the miseducation of African children. It is a boot camp where I'm going to teach parents and other members of our community how specifically to fight the special education, ADHD, psychiatric war, and the school attrition and dropout war against black children in general, black youth in particular. And then tomorrow night in Lauderhill, Florida, I'm going to be doing my For Sisters Only Relationships, Love, and Mental Health seminar, which has over the past few years been one of my most popular and most requested. So we're doing it real big here in South Florida, Miami tonight, Fort Lauderdale tomorrow afternoon, and Lauderhill tomorrow evening.
Now, these events, these lectures are open to the public?
Open to the public, okay. Open to the African public.
Okay. All right, good stuff, good stuff. So just to switch subjects real quick. Now, obviously, Miami is the hometown of Trayvon Martin, and we all know what happened with Trayvon Martin and the case. I would like to get your input on the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case that's going on.
Certainly, the Trayvon Martin, and in particular George Zimmerman trial, I think is a travesty of injustice. I think it is a charade. I think it is a bunch of tomfoolery that has given the black community the illusion of justice and due process. I do not believe that justice and due process have been served. If Trayvon was white and Zimmerman was black, this trial would already be over. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that someone would even propose the notion that an armed man with a gun pursuing a child who is of less weight than himself could possibly feel threatened for his life. If you feel threatened, you don't pursue. You evade, you run, you escape. But here's a man with a gun pursuing a child who claims to have felt that his life was in jeopardy. Still further, they're even trying to suggest that the screaming that the witnesses heard, who they clearly identified as the screaming of a child and the screaming of Trayvon, could in any way, shape, or form have been George Zimmerman's cries for help. You got a gun. Why in the hell would you be crying for help? I think that the way in which the black community reacted to the initial murder helped set the stage for the eventual either poor conviction and poor sentencing or possible acquitting of Zimmerman. I think that his parents did not react politically in the public eye with the type of resolute determinism that we should have saw. I think they were a bit too forgiving. a bit too willing to put this behind them. And of course, I don't presume to pass judgment on any parents losing their child, but I do think that had there been a much firmer response to the entire bail of George Zimmerman, him being allowed to go home on house arrest prior to the trial, that should have never happened. He was guilty of murder, and whether he was guilty or innocent, he should have remained in custody of the state until such time that he was proven to be innocent, which is a time that should have never actually surfaced, because I do not believe, based on the evidence before us, that he is innocent. But I think their reaction, I also think the shenanigans of Al Sharpton, who was sent down here to South Florida by President Obama, okay, I think the way in which he dealt with the case was a little bit too lackluster. I think it was too integrationist. I also think it was a whole bunch of holding hands with people who don't like us, and I think that his parents may have basically been given some poor advice from Reverend Sharpton as to how they should have conducted themselves in front of the media as it relates to the loss of their son. My heart goes out to them, my love and support goes out to them. In no way am I saying they're guilty of participating in what appears to be the acquittal of Zimmerman. I'm simply saying that I think that the reaction should have been handled a little bit more forcefully, a little bit more resolutely, and a little bit more with a cry towards justice for our son, and not necessarily saying that, you know, we forgive people or anything like that too soon. Because by doing that, you kind of give the inclination that it's kind of okay not to take this as seriously as it needs to be taken. But I also think we, the black community, should have reacted to Trayvon's assassination, because that's what I call it, an assassination, in George Zimmerman's his murder, his homicide. I think we should have reacted to it a little bit more forcefully as well. I don't think the black community of South Florida should have been alone in dealing with this. I think that all over the country and world, for that matter, we should have all come down here to South Florida and raise a organized but disciplined holy hell and outcry. And the reason why the Trayvon case is so important is because it's one of the first significant cases where you see a citizen, not a police officer, but a regular citizen, pursue a child, kill that child, and may possibly walk home free. We have to look at the racial implications of the Zimmerman case. If he's allowed to walk after killing a defenseless child, remember, this is not a law enforcement officer, he was a civilian. If this civilian is allowed to kill a defenseless black child and walk, how many more white civilians will be allowed to kill defenseless black children and walk? So I'm concerned about this for my nephews. You're concerned about this for your sons. We're concerned about this for all black men in America, because we know that American law is based on case law and trial law. And this case will be a precedent. It will set a historical precedent for how stand your ground and non-stand your ground cases will be carried out in the American judicial system. So I'm hoping that justice is going to be served, but I understand that in the American social order, white racism and white supremacy is far more important than justice and law, so we can only hope and wait and see what happens.
Now, yeah, as far as I know, there has not been a verdict, but in your opinion, what do you think the outcome would be?
I don't know if the jury is going to decide on the second-degree murder, and I don't know if they're going to decide on a lesser charge of manslaughter. But I do know this. Whatever they decide on and whatever the sentence will be, I'm quite certain that it will have a catch-22 that would allow Zimmerman to be home in less than 6 months. I'm almost certain of whatever the conviction is, it's going to give him the ability to go home with time served after only being in jail, okay, for no more than a year. If he is forced to be in jail no more than a year without the opportunity for pre-release for good behavior, parole, or anything else, I would be shocked. No matter what happens, I think that white privilege is going to prevail. And with his father's connections and his connections to the police department down here in Florida, I would be shocked if justice was served in this case.
So in your opinion, still going on with the Trayvon Martin case, in your opinion, if he does get acquitted, what do you think is the next steps for the black community to say,
if he gets acquitted, that's going to open up the floodgate.
Right.
And I hate to say it because I don't like to be an alarmist, but it's going to open up the floodgate for even more potential homicides of young black males at the hands of white people who were not only, not in jeopardy of being harmed or losing their life, but now you have vigilante justice. This was vigilante justice. You had a black boy who was killed simply for being in a white neighborhood. We got to understand what this case was about. Trayvon's only offense was being black in a white neighborhood. And if Zimmerman is acquitted for killing a child, just for being in a white neighborhood, how many more black kids are going to be killed walking with a hoodie on in a white neighborhood? So I think that the implications and precedent of this trial here are going to be very, very dangerous for black folks. And I think that when we look back on the Trayvon trial in history, I think a lot of us are going to wish we handled our reaction to it a little bit differently.
Gotcha. Cool. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. If you can just go ahead and give the people information as far as where they can purchase your booking information, also your upcoming lectures that you have going on as well.
You can reach me, family. You can purchase a copy of my new book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, The Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys. That can be purchased on my website, princeofpanafricanism.com or drumarjohnson.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Umar Johnson. You can email me if need be, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, and you can follow me on Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde, Ifatunde. Looking forward to going over to London, England. I will be in London, England with our brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom next Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 19th through the 21st. Then we'll be with our brothers and sisters in Little Rock, Arkansas, Saturday, July 27th. We'll be with our brothers and sisters in Kansas City, Kansas, August the 25th. We'll be with our brothers and sisters in Charleston, South Carolina, Newberry, South Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, November the 7th and the 8th. We'll be in Los Angeles, California for the Ebonics Conference. November 3rd, we'll be in San Diego, California for the first time. November 14th as well as the 15th. Also coming back to Dallas, Texas, the last weekend in September. So we just got a lot going on. Back to Detroit, Michigan in August. So please, you can check me out on my website, drumarjohnson.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Any parents out there with issues involving your children, you need some expert mental health or educational advice, feel free to get with me at drumarjohnson.com. No struggle, no progress.
Excellent. And I think that people, if you are not familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson's work, you can find information on YouTube. He has all types of lectures that you can look at online. Also, he was in the Hidden Colors documentary as well. And you can check that out as well for information as well. So once again, it's your boy Chauncey, a.k.a. Ukarima, GMOG Media, signing off. Peace.